Welcome to What's in My Golf Shop, or What's in My Golf Shop. What's in my drawers? Either one, right? I just did the What's in My Golf Shop video. And it's What's in My Drawers because old club makers, club fitters are tremendous pack rats. And that is what this is all about. We talk about golf equipment, fittings, repairs, opinions, and what's happened out there and about, right? When it comes to golf equipment, we'll just talk about it all, really. That's the cool part. And sorry for getting on a little bit late. I think it might have been just right on time, maybe just a little bit behind. But I walked in the door and it was just really, really busy. We had sold a set of Callaway Apex in the pros and scheduled a couple of fittings and answered some golf questions. It was just, we were all over the map, and I just looked up and was like, oh, it's time to go, guys. Time to go. So, all righty. So as we talk about this, what did we do this week in the world of golf clubs in the McGolf shop? Well, number one, we put a new roof on the house. The McGolf shop is now a metal roof. Had that put on by a group, Scott and his clan, Devil Dog Construction. Devil Dog Construction, he's a Marine. And me being a Navy guy, had to give him the just desserts being a Navy guy. But the crew did a really, really good job. If you take a look, from top to bottom, there's no layers. There's no layering this way. It's one solid piece. He ordered one solid piece, a little longer than average, and had him bring it and deliver it. So it had an immediate impact on the shop. And here's another look at it. Had an immediate impact on the shop. As soon as he put the siding on the front, the interior of the house and on the dormers, immediately cooler. Immediately. It was shocking because right now it's like 95 degrees here in Ohio. And right now the upstairs would be somewhere in the 80s. And it's just because it just couldn't keep up with the heat demand. And right now it's like 73 or 4. So yeah, I'm a big believer of this metal roof thing with that. They have a kind of like we'll call it an emergency blanket kind of insulation that goes underneath of it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest contributors. But the guys did a really, really good job, and I thank them very, very much. So, Scott, if you happen to be watching, which I doubt he is, he's probably on another job, thank you. And it's Devil Dog Construction here in Ohio. So that was pretty cool. And let's see, what else do we have going on? Oh, here we go. I got this from our buddy in Auburn, Indiana. How about that for a head cover? And then it's a birdhouse. It's a birdhouse, and a poo head. And so I'm going to take the poo head out, and we're going to see if I can get it to fit on one of them. And then we've got a birdhouse on the far end on the left-hand side. We're probably going to put it here in the back and put it up in the corner, that because the birds make a whole bunch of nests on top of our range heaters. And we're figuring if we can give them a home that they don't have to go searching out, maybe they won't put it on our nest. So that'll be good. All righty, let's see. Wilson. Wilson was the big winner this week. Had a lot of the driver, did a couple of drivers in the fairway, as you can see right here, using the Acra shaft. Right, the Acra I-Series shaft was doing very, very well. It actually performed extraordinarily well. That's what it looks like underneath. And then there was another driver. So what was unique about this? Number one is one of them was going to a gentleman that does single length. So we cut it down a little bit. I added a little bit more weight so that it would feel correct. The other two were for a very tall individual. And we found out that he was really squatting a lot because of the lower clubs that he had. So we made things a little bit longer for him. And next thing you know, he's free to swing. And that's what he was doing. Now, this golfer was in his mid to late 70s. And here's the thing with technology and the reason why you want fit. all that technology is grand in a club, and I fully support it. But if it doesn't work, it's useless. And what we're finding here, what I'm finding is, if you have a slower swing speed, like you're in your 70s of that kind of nature, that these guys really work well. Okay. It's been like that for some time, that the clubs that have that aren't nearly as techno advanced, right? Techno advanced is works as well, if not better. So if one of you guys are in that category, don't be afraid to look at like a Wilson, or even say a Mizuno or a Wishon or something like that. You very well may find out that you hit the ball as far, if not further, and not have to go, that deep into debt. All right. We got two other things here left over. Number one, here we go. The McGolf apron is still in play. Yep, the McGolf apron is still in play. It was helping do the so it goes everywhere, right? Barbecues, makes clubs, and now works under sinks. Our garbage disposal bit the dust, and really what happened was you see those little plastic squares about this big that used to scrape off trays and whatnot. Well, one of those got loose from Mrs. McGolf and got down in there, and it jammed it up, and it got so lodged in there that I couldn't pick it out, so we just replaced it. Okay, so last thing, I wanted to show you guys this. Let's see if it'll work out for me here. Nope, that's not what I want to do. There we go. Let's try this. Go here, and we'll do this. You guys asked for it. There they are. Okay, so there it was. A little production. I was having a creative moment. So they're in. These are it right here. We just called up our guy that normally made them and ordered a handful. So we have large, extra large, and medium to large hats, and we have red, gray, navy blue, and black. Okay, and I think this is the black. Might be navy blue. Anyway, and those are the four colors. We figured we start with something basic before we went with something too wild and crazy. And we have them have, I don't know, half a dozen of each one of the sizes and colors. So if you're interested, give Mrs. McGolf a shout, and we can get one added to it for no problem. All right, last but not least, right? There was a lot going on over the weekend, and we saw you guys watched the 3M Open. It didn't seem like there was a whole lot of star power in there. However, give the nod to Cameron Champ. I believe this is his third or fourth win on tour. So guy hits the ball a mile. Louis Oosthuizen shot a -5 coming in second with Johnny Vegas. So these are guys that are certainly recognizable. They just didn't, get all that star power. And the guy to finish the final end of the cut was Scott Brown. He shot a +7, and to end up like a +5, and that's where they go. However, what I'm hearing is that the LPGA, Minjee Ling, just came back. She just caught fire and shot a -7 to win over Hyunjung Lee. Hopefully I said that right. So anyway, there was a lot of really good golf to be had out there. You just had to be watching it in the right spot. All righty. So there we got through all that. Let's get to the top. Get to the top. There's Garrett Bushman. How are you, sir? What do you say, man? Mike, what do you say from Buffalo? What do we got here? Played the round of my life. 69. Well done to Mike. Good job, dude. That's the kind of stuff that they expect from a budding college player. So good for you. Hopefully it was on a very difficult course, so now you can keep going further. There's Matt. He shot a 69 last Friday, too. Man. And you're going on a golf trip this weekend, huh? I wonder where a little one, so it can't be too far. All right. Describe how you choose what tees to play from, and do you play the tips? As a matter of fact, most cases when I go on golfing vacations, I do not. Right? The idea here is I want to enjoy myself. Yes, I am still testing myself, but when they talk about lengths of courses, right? I am comfortable right up to about 6,600 yards. I can play 68, but when you start seeing that other stuff, I can play it, but then I'm playing rounds of bogey golf, and I'm not real. And it's okay knowing the expectation, but why? So in a lot of cases, I'll play from what they would call the whites, particularly when you go down to Myrtle Beach, because you tend to lose a club anyway. So I try to keep them around the 6,400 mark, 6,400, 6,500. And it's still a test because there's places that you don't know how the greens will react and that kind of stuff. But I look at total yardage. And I look at where I'm playing. So if you go up into the mountains where the ball is going to fly a little bit further, that number might get a little bit bigger. Where the other way around for getting closer towards the sea level. But that's how I play. I did play from the tips on one TPC course when I was much younger, and it was the mistake of my life. And they had places where you had to carry. I couldn't hit it. I hit it further now than I did when I was young because I took some wild swings and the equipment was poor and all blah. The excuse. And I could hit it to 260, 270 maybe on a good hit, but it relied on about 30 yards a roll. Well, they had these things that had landing areas that were 250, 260, and then you had to get it over junk. There's no way I was going to make that happen. So, hey, that's the way it is. Mr. Bartholomew, there we go, sir. And I even have a glass ball or an ice ball with the golf ball, and it's McCallum 12. It's actually pretty good. 2 cask. Okay. Look at that. He's happened to shoot in the 70s, let alone the 60s. No kidding, bud. Man, look at that. Yes. Here we go. Krister, burning hot Sweden. Well, I wonder I bet burning hot Sweden is a whole lot different than a burning hot Ohio. Anyway. Although, like I said, I thought I went back and I saw your swings again, so you're doing pretty good, man. Queensland, Australia. Well done. Thank you for coming in. I know this is early for you, but hey, thanks for joining us. Good job. Willard, how are you, sir? Shot a 76 plus three with three putts and 1 double bogey. 14 greens of regulation, 2 birdies. Dude, you were right there. I like to be able to shoot a 76. That would just be, I got close. I'm getting closer, but a 76, that's what I really want to do. All right. Duke, what's up? What do you think of the ProForce V2 and Claymore shafts? Not much for the Claymores, but I do like the V2s. The V2, in fact, I had 2 of them as part of my fitting. The V2, the original V2 was a softer version of they called them I think they were Vs. Anyway, they had the ProForce. The ProForce was the purple and gold shaft, and it was a board. People loved it, and they had no business being in it, and the only reason why they loved it is because people saw it on TV. Then came out the ProForce V2, And the V2 is a kinder, gentler version of the very same profile. And how can it be the same profile? Well, that's a good question. What it is they took all the, if you had a chart of the profile, it would have the same chart. It's just it would be lower. All the numbers would be lower, and so it produced a better feel, but still had that level of control. It was very, very good. Now they have the white V2s, the whites with the yellows on them and stuff like that, and they're made differently. But I think they still have the level of control, but the feel on them is probably, I would say, just a hair harsher than the original V2 model. They still work well, but that's just, and I don't know if I just can't get past the white color or the yellow and the white color together. Maybe that's just my thing. Yeah, I don't do Charles. I don't have to worry about snow. You see that line that goes across? That's called an ice guard or a snow guard, so that you don't get that kind of deal. And I told him I told I told him the whole purpose of this roof was that I never have to get on it. And they kind of looked at me and said, "Well, that's a pretty good idea." And I said, "Yeah, that's why you guys are up there, not me." And again, they did a phenomenal job. They did very, very well. They were very, very safe, and they got it done in what I would have called record fashion. So, and I only had to, he walked around on the job and let me inspect, and I came up with two things, and he fixed them right then and there. And so when it was done, it was done. And that's just the way I love it. Kurt, the answer to that is yes. Yes, I can. Have ordered the Apollo black PVD putter shaft and a tour control to my MaxFly putter. We'll make it. Hey, well, I like the Apollo is going to be, it's a standard putter shaft, but I do like the black. It kind of gives it that cool vibe, right? It does make it neat. And honestly, the black, in my opinion, is less distractive. Less distractive. Yeah, less distractive. I like it. It does pretty good. And the comfort, the SNSR, in reality, doesn't get a lot of press, but the contour one you got has the bigger pistol grip, where they have the other ones. The blue one, I'm not a fan of the blue one. I like the red one, and I do like the contour, so very good. David, what do you say, sir? How are things coming along? I have something here now. It's for you, but I'm giving David first cut because I'm his mentor. However, David, Club Connect. I don't know where you're at with your fitting system, but I'm almost 100% converted over. If you're interested, let me know. For the rest of you guys, Club Connects. If one of you guys are out there or budding fitters or whatever, this is the Club Connect system. This is what I had on my system for years. They they go together like this, and then that guy puts them all together. These are called fuse fits. All right, fuse fits, and they come in multiple sizes. And I think I have mostly A's, I have some B's, and then just a few C's. And I got tons of the shaft connectors. So if you guys are interested in something like that, let me know or send it to Mrs. McGolf, and we'll give you a price. I still have some still on shafts too, and I still have some on the Mizunos if you're interested. So if not, I'll just pull them off. So if you guys are interested, David gets first cut, and after that, the rest of you guys it's more. And if he doesn't want them all, that's good too. So just let us know. All righty. Syracuse, been playing new Callaway DCB, some of the best irons I've owned. Well, Peter, I'm not going to disagree. I like Callaway makes a good product. The DCBs was, I think, a welcome addition to their particular lineup. It gave folks that needed that little extra with the offset, that little extra. And it does have a neat little, a different sole design. I don't think it's any wider per se. It may look like it, and that's because of the rounded back. But it's a good ball, or it's a good club. Jonathan, how are you, sir? Danny Jackson. Hannibal, Missouri. There you go. I keep forgetting where's Hannibal. Is that on the west or the eastern side of the state? All righty. Well, now you know. All right, David, what do we got here? Toe hang. Oh, wow. Toe hang. What I look at. So I kind of met. So when we talk about toe hang, when we're talking about, let me just use it. I don't have a putter head or anything. All my toys are gone for the day. But so if this was the face of a putter, this would be face balanced. And then as the toe goes down, that's called toe hang or droop. Okay, and you'll have slight toe hang, medium toe hang, severe toe hang, and then you even go the other way where it goes straight, where the toe's up in the air, and they call that toe line balance or target line balance or whatever you want to call that. Very few putters do that. It is a neat feel, though, I will say that. Anyway, the amount of toe hang, I really give a lot of credence when a guy is screen dooring. Now, I know when you got the Capto, there's a lot of information, but if you see a lot of, and it's not what they would call the arc, but it's how that the club moves in this evolution. The more that you see it, that and then how the club opens and closes, the more, the most toe hang, and bringing yourself back to where you're straight through and straight forward. That's how I go with it. And then we start, and then you start with that. And then you work your way back to the norm to see whether or not they can deliver the putter to square. Yes, they will fit the big heads, Matt. This goes to 7 and, did that thing say 7 3/4? If you go to the new era, then I'm going to have to get it. If Mrs. McGolf is listening, she can look up the new era 3930 hat and see what the sizes are. They do have sizes that go with them. I think it's like 7.5 to 7 3/4 for this one. And the other one goes from just under 7 to 7.5, something along that lines. But two good. I mean, those two sizes will fit a plethora of folks. All right. Thinking about one of the less expensive launch monitors. Any thoughts on which they may be and which to stay away from? It depends on what you're talking about in the way of launch monitors. I think we get a lot of confusion. Well, technically, yes, they are launch monitors. They are monitoring the launch of the ball, and that's a launch monitor in normal. Now, it would depend on what you're looking to find out from said launch monitors, because there's Rapsodos, there's Scientific, there is Flight Scope in the Mevo and the Mevo Plus. There is the it's the indoor one that's very popular. It starts with an S, I think. Anyway, it depends on how much you want to spend. If you're in that $1,500 and less, because let's keep in mind the Flight Scope in the X3 runs around 17 to 20,000. All right, the TrackMan is somewhere in the 30 to 35,000. It may be even more now. Okay, that stuff you see the other YouTubers using, the daggone it, I had in my hand the one that they like using now, and it's a nice monitor, but it runs in the same price range as the Flight Scope. So those are no joke, right? And the next one is, I believe might be one in the 5,000 category. Why? Right? And then they take a leap further down into that 1,500 to 2,000, and this is where the Mevo Plus really shines in that category, because the other one that's purely indoors only reads from the back, where the Mevo Plus does as well, but it's only this big and is very, very portable and very, very accurate. Now, there is another one out there. What is the name? There's two other ones out there. Anyway, then you get down to the $500 bracket, and then that's where the Mevo's at, and there's 3 or 4 in that bracket, and I would think that they all have their advantages and disadvantages. I think that they're all very close to their. If you were to line them up side by side and let them monitor, they'd be within a mile an hour. Pardon me, a mile an hour and maybe a foot or two of each other, and I think it would be fine. It just depends on what it is you like to connect to, and what it is that you want it to accomplish, whether you're indoors or out. All right, Luke. At my job, I have a client who needs more spin worse than anything. Of course, I've already put him in with more loft and a softer ball. Is there any way I could cheat a little bit more spin? Well, if you're talking about a driver, look at a driver shaft that has a little bit more. Well, I don't know why you would want a whole lot of spin, but if you're in a driver shaft, something that has it's funny, it's a little stiffer. That's going to be opposite of what you're thinking. A little bit more tip section so that it holds on to it and keeps things open and causes more spin. That's just kind of guessing. It looks like we're talking about irons, all right? And if we're talking about irons, the biggest thing is how they attack the ball, okay? How a golfer attacks the ball. And sounds like the golfer is scooping more than hitting. And if that's the case, it could be a weight thing. And it could be that the clubs are a bit too heavy, that they can't control it and hold on to it until they need to, and then do the release. I would look at maybe a lighter shaft. And then in that case, if you see them right about there, those guys are the Nippon and the 950 and the 10 and the what they call it, the 1105. And then right about there in the Max, the KBS Max. And what they are is what they all have in common is they're all in that 95 to 105 gram shaft, but they're all butt flexible, right? So it gets a little bit more of in it, right? A little more, and you'd be surprised what that'll do. But I'm guessing that something that might be a little bit less in weight, more flexible, might get you where you need to go. Now keep in mind, Duke, that Krister here is a monster when it comes to the swing, but he's not wrong. Wait for the Garmin Approach R10 for the money. Looks to be nearly as good as. There you go. I saw the Garmin a little bit, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't be able to tell you though until it comes out. For me to say anything, that's it. Look at here. Look at that. Mrs. McGolf in on me already. If it fits my head, you know it's going to be big. And she's not lying, though. What would be a good gapping distance between clubs? All right, Brian. And I'm going to sound like a toad when I say this, but in golf, the number one answer is it depends. It really depends. Now, the standard average is around 10. All right. If you swing a little bit faster, 15. If you swing a little bit slower, it'll be less than 10, sometimes 7.5 to even 5, depending on how slow. It can get lower than that. So, but around 10 is a good number. New driver or better swing mechanics currently with the 585? Well, a little bit of both, I'd imagine. As I understand it, and the 585 is the players, and the 785 is the forgiving one, I think. Is that where it's at? And if that's true, and this is the players one, that might be the issue all of itself. And yes, then it's the driver. Now, in most cases, and I will go back to the old steady, the old reliable answers, Chad. Number one, if you got a stock driver, choke down. All right, unless you're like 6'8" or something above that, or even taller, choke down. Okay. The average length on tour is right around 44.5 to 44 3/4. And I did a study here, and it bore out the same exact numbers. So if you're having trouble with the control or contact, it's probably due to the length. Okay. And when it's shorter, you're probably going to be able to put better swing mechanics on it because you're not in some foreign posture in order to do that. So I would go with that first before we dump a new club. Toodly-doo. We say, Brian, I always play from the blues here in California. It makes my handicap easier to manage. And there's something to be said about that, Brian. You know, in a lot of cases here, the courses are the blues, and that would be the tips here, running that 65-ish, 66-ish range in that area. And a lot of times I will play the blues. And it's not because I blow it out of the water. By far, that's not the reason why. But what I end up doing is my second shot into the green or my first shot into the green ends up being more of a full swing into a club that I'm used to versus one that I have to half swing, grab a different club, something along that lines, and it's just easier to approach. Okay, Robin's answering a whole bunch of folks. Here we go. Brian's on it today, buddy. Way to go. Do you have plans to test the Garmin 10? It gives a ton of ball data, spin angle, attack path, all for $600. I would love to test it. You guys let Garmin know. I would love to test it. But until they send it to me, I'm not buying a $600 launch monitor when I've got one here that does it all. However, I would like to test those things. Maybe I get FlightScope to hook me up with a couple just to see. However, and I'm hearing good things about it. I mean, Garmin's is a good range type of group, so I wouldn't think it'd be bad. All right, Daniel Marino. And what would be a good fairwood shaft that is similar to the old Grafalloy Epic X? Ooh, the Epic. Is it the Epic? That was that hybrid steel graphite-y, woundy kind of thing, wasn't it? Well, the one that comes to mind right away, Daniel, is that Acra makes an FX red now. It's a red that they make a fairwood shaft for that, and it is because the Epic was it wasn't brutal, but it was a low hitter, and I'm thinking that's probably pretty close. And it is a fairway wood shaft. That's the reason why when we get to all of us, when we get into the fairway wood shaft, it's hard to do that when they don't make one. Okay. Because the characteristics are different, right? The club is smaller, the club is heavier, and your length is going to be shorter. So you need to have a shaft that is designed to be able to handle that particular kind of club. It used to be that you either went up a flex and didn't trim, or you went up 10 grams heavier and you tip trimmed and you had a fairwood shaft. In more cases than not, it was horrible. And that's a lot of the reasons why folks really didn't like fairway woods. And so it was tough. The only two folks that I've come up against that ever had these was Acra and Excalibur, of all places. And I just happen to have one. We'll talk about this one here in a minute. They had fairway wood shafts and hybrids. It was a whole family. And it's easy to find fairway or hybrid shafts, but the fairway woods were a little more difficult to find. Now, there could be other ones out there. If there were, I would suspect somebody in the way of either Fuji or maybe even Mitsubishi to have them, but I'm not aware of them. And but that was where I would go with that. Now, this guy. Let's talk about this guy. I'm gonna give Robin a little bit of love. And it's Robin Arthur, and he does Excalibur shafts. This is a rapid taper iron shaft. And you can see where it's standard issue, and it goes down, and then it's like a whole bunch of tip section. And I've had some guys tell me that they've had, again, success for guys that are slower swing speeds, and not so much success with guys that had higher swing speeds because it looks too radical. So I decided I'd do a test with it. And I did, and I hit the Wilson CB, which, give a nod to Wilson, that thing feels awesome, and the new Mizuno hot metal, and I just hit it. And of course, they're going to be different distances, but the idea was, could I keep them in play? And I did, and I'm going to be doing a video of that one, so we'll have to. I'll let you know. Nevertheless, the shaft worked, and that's the bottom line. So. But right now, Daniel, I would just look at the Acra or something in the reason why I say, because the Epic X, the X Flex, that's where a lot of those would land. You're probably in that 70 gram range, maybe 80, and that's where you would land at. Joe. No, that's Krister, that guy right there. That is a VA Composites. That's a Nemesis shaft. Charles Horn, Northwest Bama. What do you say? Miss like we pick of the USS Blakely or Blakey. Okay. Frigate. All right. We'd be deadly. Got a talent tool. Well, good. Yes, I have. There was. I don't know if it was places that you went, but there was a how shall we say, a place that sailors would like to visit that had a lot of like stuff going on like that. That it was called the Rusty Nail, and oh yeah, holy cow! I know more than one. I know we had to hook a couple of guys out of there more than a couple of times. Bill Griffin, I saw your build on the PX6 irons. What do you think of the MMT shafts? Bill, I got to say I like them. It's going to sound weird, but they feel heavier than they weigh. Does that make sense? They feel heavier than they weigh, and they look smaller around. They look smaller around than, and Charles, if you know, look at here, buddy, Horn. They just seem, because they're black, they seem smaller around, but they're not. And but they're very, very solid shaft. You better be a late releaser in order to make these things go. Brian's all over it today. Well done. What is a comparable shaft to the 6.0 Project XLZ? Okay, so the 6.0 is, and again, it depends, Brian. The Project XLZ has been around for a bit, and it's gone through two modifications, where the 6.0 was the beginning of the stiff range, and the second one, it was in the beginning of the X Flex range. So let's go with one that's more comparable. The 6.0 would be closer to an X Flex. And so the LZ was launch zone, or I think that's what it stood for. So basically a little bit higher flight, right? And that's the reason why it had all those little scallopy steps in them in order to make it do that. And so you're looking basically for a kind of a high flighted, high launching X Flex shaft. That is about where you would go. My personal pick would be the dollar tapers from KBS and the X Flex, or even the Modus and then you can pick out the weight that you want. Normally with the 6.0, you're in your traditional weights of 120. However, they did have some lower weighted ones, the 110s, slightly lower, and both companies offer a lower weighted shaft, a 105 or a 110, but those are the ones I would look at. Okay, what do we need to do? Need to swap out my grips on my wedges. Would recommend having the same grips across the clubs or different from irons to wedges? If so, harder, soft, thicker, thinner, lighter, heavier? Good question. That is a good question. So I'm a big fan of having them all the same. I like them to be all the same. That way I don't have to adjust for that kind of stuff. Now, if you're playing, being how I've never played in Australia, if it comes to a point where you've got to hit a lot of knockdown shots, like you're playing on the coast, that kind of thing, and it's a little bit different, and you think you have more control, I would think that you would have more control. It's with smaller ones. However, personally, I am same as the irons, and particularly if you're not using aligns. If you're not using aligns, then fine, use them all the same. If you're using aligns, I would probably go with the same grip without the align because of your ability to open up a wedge. All right, Joe. Washington, D.C. Oh, Washington, D.C. There's too many bad things that can happen in Washington, D.C., dude. Don't leave the airport. Not at night. I used to live out there. Don't go out at night unless you got a lot of friends. It's nice during the day, though. Beautiful during the day, and all the downtown area with all the statues. It's just wonderful. Well, hopefully the broken plane is doing all right. Is it Dulles? I think it was Dulles, and then there was the other. I called it the President's Airport, and got a 39. Joe's on fire, man. I bet your buddy's getting mad. Al Burnett from the Space Coast, and it's rainy, huh? I bet you needed some, though. All right, Charles interested in a hat. Well done, sir. And there you go. Something tells me, Krister, that you're kind of a guy that opens it up anyway when you come back and just probably don't know it. Here we go. Brian at again. How do I figure out the bounce for my wedges? My local courses are pretty hard desert tracks. Okay, so there are two things that talk about bounce in just general terms. One of them is exactly what you said, the condition. So if it's very, very hard, you want a lower bounce. If it was very, very lush or thick or something like that, you would want a lot of bounce. But since it's hard, deserty type stuff, then I would go with something in a lower bounce. Okay. The second one is how you play. Now, if you're, we've all heard the term diggers and sliders, or diggers and sliders. And diggers are the guys that chop and take a lot of dirt, and the sliders are the guys that do not. All right. And if you're a digger, then you go to that low bounce for your area condition and then add some. Okay, add some. If you're a slider and you have that, then you do not. You just get a low bounce club. You don't subtract any more because low bounce is low bounce. Now, the other part is that I will add in that you may not hear is the sole grind. Okay, the sole grind. I like to put people into two different categories. And the first category is point, click, and chip. And the second category is artiste. All right. The point, click, and chip guy is you lay the club down, it swings, and you're not doing anything. It's a wedge, it's pointed, bam, it goes. Where the artiste is the Phil Mickelson fan club, where they want to open it up and they want to do all these really fancy things. If you're in the artiste fan club, then what you want is something that has a lot of heel and toe relief and low bounce. That's going to be a very finite few folks that you can look for. If you're going to be in the point, click, and chip range, it opens up a lot of variables. You can go with what they would call a standard grind, and you could go as easily as almost a wide sole, maybe so that you could hit down on a little bit and get underneath the ball. Hopefully that helps. PRGR launch monitor. Okay. I don't think I've heard of them, but that's one out there. GC Quad, that's the other YouTuber one. That's the other high dollar monster. And you know what? I really want to not like this particular GC Quad just because of where it sets up. I just don't like how you have to put it right here in front of you, right there. I just don't like that. And it's only because I've had launch monitors in the past, and a guy will and had to read the text. Anyway, and I've had some folks sling some off and just almost try to take out the launch monitor. That's the only reason why. Outside of that, I love their graphics. I love their attitude towards it. I think that a lot of more companies need to take note of what they're doing. When you have those zombie apocalypse games or kids being able to hit balls to like they're popping balloons at the carnivals, I think that's phenomenal. It's a good job. All right. Bought a Marsh Golf 2 wood with, yeah, you told us you're getting it. Did it come in? Ooh, that's a whole lot, bud. Yeah, you're going to bring that one around. Charles, SkyTrack, that was the one I was looking for. Yeah, that's the inside one. A lot of people like the SkyTrack. They use it on the simulators. They used it on the simulators, but it doesn't move very far from there. And then Joe talks about Swing Caddy. Swing Caddy is another one, but that does go outside. So there we go. Change the adapter on the Motori speeder shaft, and now the club is really playable. I would imagine you would like the Motori. All right, have a dozen or so uncut, old dynamic 294 taper tip wood shafts. Yes. Yeah. Yes. David Bass. He's all over that right now. David Bass Golf. He's in South Carolina. He's right on the border, but I believe he's in South Carolina. A wonderful gentleman. He is. I've learned quite a bit from that man, growing up and becoming a club maker. And he's doing a lot of that. And the 294s, man, we were just talking about that. I've got some old wooden heads that accept that. It's pretty cool. In fact, hold on, because you said it. Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I moved some stuff around. And look at here. Right there. Is that not the coolest thing? These things look great. They play like trash, but they in comparison. That's a 294 spot right there, buddy. And guess these, right? These are from Golf Works. These are from Golf Works, and they leave that open so you can weight them down and you put the little badge on them. And then I've had this easily for 15 years. Oh, there it goes. I set it out. There we go. I set it out just because as a conversational piece. It's really kind of cool. I like it. What are we doing here? I went all the way to the top. Yeah, whatever. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's a driver. Okay. 1200. He's hitting a knuckleball, man. 1200 hitting a knuckleball. Actually, go the other way. Luke, go the other way with a golf ball. Go with a hard one. Go with like the Pro V Star, the Chrome Soft X. Let him hit one of those. Your spin will come up, and you'll be going from there. Try that. I think that'd probably be the biggest thing. The softball, we always think it's going to produce a lot of spin. In this case, I would think I would go the other way around. Okay, I would try that out first. But again, in this one, just a hair stiffer and to try and generate, to kind of hold him open. And I wouldn't tee it up any higher. I'd have to see where he's at in his angle of attack. But it sounds like he's just hitting the thing dead square. But I would try the harder golf ball first. Here we go. What do we get? Hogan, 3 iron the other day. All right. Now you got to let us know how it works, right? I don't get to see that too much stuff. Did you see the nice article on new personal launch monitors from Foresight and Bushnell? I did not. And I've been starting getting their email here as of late. I signed up for being a tester on something, and now I'm getting them all. But one of the guys, Fix Your Divot or something like that, he sent me a question on the swing weight. All right. That's funny. There we go, Chad. You're welcome, sir. No problem. There we go. The shorter ones. There you go. I play the whites every once in a while, just to bust things up, because we tend to, when you go to the same golf course time and time again, other than create circumstances. I'll do is I'll start off with the white tees and maybe play the white tees on the front and the blue tees on the back, or vice versa, or just around, just to keep things going. So there you go. Okay, Austin, what do you want to know? What piece of equipment has been a surprise bestseller or popular pick this year? Well, the surprise, I'll go with 2, right? The surprise, actually, this year, the surprise is the Mizuno Clk Hybrid. That's the surprise. It works. It really, really works. And they've got the Tensai blue and the Tensai red shafts that go in them, and they work very, very well. They get out, they go. And for righties, they take care of you. They got the 16 degree, and it goes ±2. So if you're a real big hybrid player, dude, this is where you can score big time on these. Lefties, we go to 18, and then it's ±2, I believe. Or is it 19? Sorry, 19. But that was the surprise of the year. The one of the best sellers that we've had, Mrs. McGolf would have to tell us on that one, but I would have to say the best seller, again, from the iron perspective, it'd be somewhere in a tie between our Apex, right? The Apex has just been killing it. It's a very, very good iron. It's just, and with the different models, right? Like I said, I just sold one today, showing a guy a couple of things. I fit him before and kind of threw a couple of models at him and let him go hit. The other one, that really kind of surprised me was the D7 Forged. The D7 Forged from Wilson. That thing took off like a shot. It got some good press at my Golf Spy, and it just took off, and for good reason. It was a good club, right? And it did very, very well. And we went to check them out. We were going to put them in the D7 in the lineup, but we're getting towards the end of the year, at least the end of the golfing year. So for all you guys, so what's going to happen here? We're in July, getting ready to go into August. All right, September and October is the time frame. September is when the OEMs start having their sales rep meetings, and they start showing them, hey, this is what's going to be new. This is the new stuff. And they get all their guys wound up for the year. And then they come out and they visit guys like me. I'm normally last on the list because I'm so rural, and we get to see all these things. And that's the reason why my videos come out like a week behind everybody else's, because I'm last on the visit list. Anyway, the anyway, you get to see it and you get to hit a few and you make a couple orders, or you make visits with your rep down at the PGA show and you get more time with it and you get to talk to more people and get a better feel for what the club's going to do, and you get to see that. So, but the Wilson D7 was really quite surprising. The non-surprise was the Epic driver. I knew that was going to be good right out of the box, and it's never looked back. So we like that. Thomas, what do we say? Sorry for the late finish. Regripping driver for later. Thanks. Spinner ball tip. Oh, look at that. Good deal. There we go. I like how you guys are sharing information. That's really cool. Just got back from the range. There's my man. Hot one today, yes. Good. Irons and drivers, not so much. Might need the dunce cap back. Uh-oh. I'm getting told to speed it up. She's 4 minutes ahead, guys. She's 4 minutes ahead. Yeah, the dunce cap. So what he means by the dunce cap is this. That guy. The thing on the left. Uh-huh. Okay. Need to swap out my grips. Oh, we did that one. Girlfriend's getting into golf. What would be the best option for her? Getting a ladies box set or getting something fit for clubs? Brian, number one is, unless she is very, very, very athletic and her athleticism was stick and ball like field hockey or something like that, if it was not, right, I would just do ladies set in a box and let her get the idea of whether or not she would like it and go out and have fun with it, right? Teach some basics. Matter of fact, if you have a pro nearby, spend the extra 35, 40 bucks, whatever it is, and let her have a lesson and get the basics down. That will pay dividends going into the future, huge amounts. Now, if she is, like, we'll say supremely talented and athletic, then letting her go out, borrow a few clubs, probably borrow a few from you, and just get the idea of getting out there, maybe go get that lesson, and then maybe a basic fitting to get you in the right spot. Because chances are that if she is very, very athletic, she's probably pretty strong and she'll overrange the ladies' clubs. And she'll be spraying the ball, wondering what's going on and trying to correct after every shot. And that's not what we want. You might go to a clubs in a box for guys at that particular point and getting an R-Flex. You might be better off. Yeah, I got to tell you, bud, that was really fun. That was pretty cool. We got a big chuckle out of it. You're welcome, sir. All right, bought a set of Ping 425s, half-inch over standard. Can I cut a half-inch off? Will do any harm? Got tired of waiting 11 weeks. Yes, you can, and no, it won't. You'll be fine. Hey, Rob. Kent's out there watching. What do you mean? Hitting bombs. James, what are you saying, dude? Glad to see you. Almost can put a face to that name. I like the thing right there. That's pretty good, dude. Oh, well done. How's it been going? Nice indeed. I'm glad to see. Look at that. We can put a name to the face or a face to the name now. Good job. Thank you. Notice my distances are getting shorter. What? Couldn't be because the older that you've probably used them up all that time, have you? We'll have to work on that one. Oop, went a little bit taller. Qual for the state am here in Rhode Island. Didn't do well, but made it. Well, good for you, dude. That's awesome. The Mevo Plus, So let's number one, I use flight scopes, so I'm comfortable with them. Number two, I saw the Mevo Plus in action at the PGA show, and it did very, very well. And it's not very big, and it provides way more stuff. I believe there's an extra radar unit in it, and for what you get, I can't believe that there'd be a better one out there. However, this Bushnell or this Garmin or whatever that's out there are probably going to be contenders coming in there, but I still think that FlightScope has the lead. Again, I'd like to see these guys show up and just let me play with them for a couple of weeks just to see. All right, my home course has a thing called members tees, some red, some gold, place 6,300. Yeah, there you go. I'd be all over that. I would be all over that. No golf scores next couple months. Health doing okay. Yeah, we do have indexes. Ugh. Yeah, stay inside, dude. There's no need to get there. I mean, unless you were a snipe, which you were an SH, so that's not happening. Yeah, there's no need to get into that. All right, what do we got here, Jim? What's going on? Installed a recoil 370 Mizuno hot metal 355 taper head just by sanding the tip so it would fit fully, but snug. Worked great, but should one of the heads... Yeah. So the reason why this is going to work really well is the recoil, they put a lot of meat at the end of the shaft. All right, a lot. And you notice that the hole isn't real big at the bottom. So you can taper, right? You can taper that tip, and you know that it's only this much of that club is that way. So you sand that part down, and then you just sand it like you normally would, and you'll be fine. Past my prime. You ever one of those days, no matter how careful you are, you end up getting epoxy on everything? Yes. Holy smokes. I had it there 2 days ago. I couldn't keep it off. I bet I used up, it felt like I used up a half a roll of paper towels. There's over ferrules on my hands. I was like, where is this coming from? I found it. It was a little bitty spot that was sitting on my bench. And I was like, oh, there you go. A little bit of acetone and a little bit of argumenting later, and it's gone. But yeah, yes, I have. CPMs. Okay, Austin. CPMs. So, CPMs is cycles per minute. It's basically how much it does this when it's measured. And it's a comparison, okay? So it's a comparison to length on one. So think of a chart, and you have length on one side, you have CPMs on the other, and then you have this whole graph, and they have these lines that go, well, this way, and they're lines of flex. And so what you do is you find your length, you find your length, you find your CPM, you go together, and then that you find on that, and that's where your flex is found. Okay, and this is where when you say, "Oh, I cut down the shaft so it becomes more stiff," no. Now, if you were going on just CPMs alone, the answer would be yes, because it was shorter, and when you get a shorter rod, it'll tend to go faster because there's less of it there to go, and it moves quicker. However, when you go length versus CPM and you go together, all it does is move up that line of flex, and it's the same flex at a different length. Okay, and that's what CPMs are. So what I try to do when we use CPMs, and that's what I build with, I find a layer of flex and we go there, and a flex is, what is it? Half a flex is 5 CPMs, and I try not to get outside of 2 in order to make it right. There's my buddy Bob, 73. The putter was hot. Bob, when was the putter not hot? All right, when was it not hot? All right. Oh, got some guys getting some golf balls. We got Austin. Feelings on ascending weight shafts for the driver wood hybrid, like 60 for the driver. As a whole, I prescribe to that, but it's not a hard and fast rule. So when I look at that, right, we look at this over here and we go, so if it's a 60 driver, 70 fairway wood, and an 80 hybrid, most of the time that's right. All right. However, there's nothing wrong with going 60, 60, 70. You can do that as well. But and it's all from a feel perspective, not necessarily performance. So if you get and you play a 60 and you smoke it in the fairway wood, then fine. And then I would just go with the 70 and the other ones. Thomas Molinsky, how are you, sir? Ooh, I like the club. I have to look at that a little bit more. All right. Day was Saturday too. Yeah. Most important swing weight overall. Wait a minute. Most important swing weight or overall weight when fitting for clubs. Total weight, man. Total weight wins the day. Every single time. More important, in my opinion, than swing weight. Now, swing weight's important for builds, but total weight is where it gets at. And we just had that. I just had that discussion with the guy from the My Golf Spy. And so we'll get it. So you get, so a guy was playing pings with steel shafts and 110, 115 shafts in them, and an inch over and jumbo grips. Okay. No, standard grips. And so he went to a club that was a half of an inch short with 80-gram shafts in it and mid-size grips. So everything that gentleman did to this club was to make it lighter, and it was swing weight came out, and he was all panicked about the swing weight. I'm like, why? Everything you did was to make that club lighter and the swing weight lighter. So why would it not be that way? And that's what we're thinking. So that's what you want. And so he's like, well, I need to get the swing weight up. And I said, well, you would need to add probably 20 grams of weight in order to make that happen. And when you do, it would make it feel like a sledgehammer, and that's not what we want. So you could go with a lighter swing weight and still get the same feel, but a lighter total weight. See where I'm going? And that's the reason why. There we go. I knew I liked you. Way to go, Chief. I was the lead on mine. So well done. Sea Sprite helicopter. Ah, okay. I get you now. Well done, buddy. Snipes Castle all the way. There's Tim. He's back. CB2. There we go. All right. It's got 8 minutes into it, and we get down to the last one. Austin T wants to know my thoughts on the gravity grip. That's from That's from Rife, and it's part of the oh my goodness, it starts with an E. Anyway, the putter, and I do like the putters. The gravity grip is basically a more elongated grip. Wish I had some in the way of putter grip. Anyway, it's a more elongated grip with more weight underneath where the fingers would set, more here. Okay, it's not a whole heavier grip. It's underneath. And it has its purpose. If you need to slow your hands down, it works pretty good. But it can still be accomplished with a similar grip and back weighting. So if you don't like the feel of the grip, you can get like a Tour Lock or a Balance Certified and get away with the same thing. But it is a nice feel. All right. Even roll. That's it. Well done, Austin. Thank you, sir. It is even roll. And Rife is a good guy. I actually met him last year. A very sharp cat. You want to talk about a guy thinking out of the box. So, I mean, I tested. The grip felt fine to me. I could just feel it in my fingers and the way that I putt that it wasn't going to do me any right. But if you like it sitting there, it's a wonderful grip. All righty, guys. We got one more and then we're done. We got a new one. Fall hard. There we go. Is there a relationship between sorting by swing weight and CPM and keeping the ball in your stance in one spot as compared to moving it forward and backward? Your thoughts as you move in the bag. Okay, there's two questions. Number one, weight sorting and swing weight versus CPM. Last one. Oh, here comes the baby girl dog. All right, so weight sorting. We'll use steel. So typically when you weight sort, the lighter clubs typically are lower in flex than the ones that are higher. Okay, that's just the way it goes as a whole. I like to do weight sorting beforehand because it also helps with swing weighting. So I will put the lighter ones at the top and the heavier ones at the bottom. And that's just to keep that feel going, right? It's not to make them heavier per se, but swing weight is not linear, right? As we are figuring it out, it's not linear. It's close, but it's not linear. So if you put a little bit heavier in the bottom, you're just better off. All right. Keeping the stance. I was a real big fan of having the ball forward in your stance about where a logo on your pocket would be. However, here as of late, I took my lesson with from Mike Malaska over the internet, and I'm finding out that I can leave most everything right in the middle and hit it and smack the living tar out of it and be very, very precise. So if I move it, it's basically I'll have the center and one ball diameter in either direction. Now, when I go down through the bag, when I get into the wedges, because of the way that I will put my weight forward, I tend to put a little bit. It feels like I'm putting the back of my stance. It could be that I'm just throwing my weight forward, but that's where we're at. All righty. Give us a call, bud. And Nick, I haven't found any luck finding any Wilson Cortex stuff. So I don't know what to tell you. Sticks out and looks ugly. Hopefully it works. Okay, guys, that takes us to the end. We still went over a little bit longer, and that's normally what happens anyway. So good questions, right? Super good questions from all over the planet. We saw actually a lot of our UK friends. We had David, but our Irish and Scottish friends must be playing golf. But Sweden, Australia, right? England, all over the U.S. Well done, guys. And thank you for answering the questions. Again, I did a shaft test for the video, so watch that at 7 o'clock in the morning. And as usual, guys, let's see your scores. Go low.